Hey everybody, how are we doing today? I just want to do a video about the Xbox Next Gen game reveals conference that's happened today. I thought just a talking video is probably the best way to do it. I was originally planning this thing, gameplay and stuff into it and trailers and things, but then I thought, you know what? Let's just have a chat for like 5-10 minutes, however long it takes, and just discuss, I guess, all the reveals that happened, kind of like I did with the Sony event, and then my thoughts and opinions on them as well. Let's dive in and take a look at what the future of Xbox means. So we've just had the Future of Xbox reveal event. I was meaning to get this out a little bit earlier today. Tripod has been knocked off my desk and it is not straight right now, and it's bothering me so damn much. I don't know if you guys will be able to tell. So what I thought we'd do is we'll go through all the announcements. I'll pull them up here on my screen now and just kind of chat through them. I didn't take notes on this one. I guess initially, overall, I was underwhelmed by this conference for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I don't think they showed enough release dates for things. I was really hoping they would show more imminent releasing content. Unfortunately, Microsoft opted to show kind of everything they still have to come, which ultimately means we're not getting a ton of content now. It's stuff that's coming out much later on in that life cycle. So rather than launch games, most of the titles they showed will be post-launch type games, which is fine to a degree. But when you're trying to get excited about next gen, I don't feel like this got me really excited. Oh, I should say off the bat as well, I know that this channel is primarily PlayStation focused, but because I did a video about the PlayStation conference, I felt like I wanted to do something for Xbox as well. I do play both consoles. I play Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation. I feel like I'm kind of agnostic across them all, but PlayStation is definitely my primary platform, and that's where I trophy hunt and do a lot of the content that I do for this channel. But I do play across all channels. So I wanted to kind of clarify that so people weren't thinking like, why are you making this in the first place? I care about Xbox. I do. I used to love my 360. Back in that generation, actually, I was primarily an Xbox player and only came around to PlayStation towards the end of that 360 generation. It's a weird one, hey? Yeah, that just a bit of clarification, I suppose. But yeah, so let's go through them. We started off with Halo Infinite, which looked great. It looked really, really solid. Like a solid Halo game. I thought the trailer was good. The gameplay trailer was awesome, and they quantified it with the release date, and I think that was perfect. It was a really good way to open it, and without that, I think the whole conference would have probably been a bit more of a disaster, but having that included, I think, definitely helped. Next up, they showed State of... Halo. I'm not a massive Halo fan. This looked cool. I'm keen to play this if I end up buying a new Xbox, but it's not going to sell me the console per se, but it did look cool. I'm interested. Next, they showed State of Decay 3. Now, I loved the first State of Decay. I played it on the 360. I never played the sequel on the Xbox One X, or Xbox One, I should say. But this trailer, I think, was a bit of a cop-out on their part. They showed a CG trailer. They didn't show what the gameplay was like. They didn't show anything about this game. So, you know, we know nothing about this game except there's a zombie deer in it. Personally, I'm not a fan of CG trailers. I've complained about them in the past because I think they're so deceptive. They show you nothing about the game, and they don't show you or give you any indication of when the game's coming out. And I just feel like it's a bit cheeky giving you that. You know, this game could be 5 years away. It could be 2 years away, 3 years away, 6 months away. We just have no idea. And I don't even know what kind of game it is. Is it still a third-person game like the previous one was? Sorry, I just moved the camera a little bit. Or is it different? Like, we just don't know anything. And without that information, I think it's just a kind of janky way to do it. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. Next up, we saw Forza, and that was the same situation. They made a big deal about talking about Forza in all the footage being shown as in-engine on Xbox, but then they didn't show any racing. Or any footage of cars. They just showed a lot of like B-roll type shots of like track and people and engines and things like that, but no racing or no gameplay. And look, I know what racing and gameplay looks like already. It's not like I wouldn't have been under any massive illusions there, but I think not showing that definitely didn't give me a ton of confidence in the game, and it also indicated to me that the game's not coming out anytime soon. So I think that was a bit of a shame on their part, not showing that stuff. And that's essentially the trend going forward. I'm going to be saying this over and over again. They showed Everwild, same situation. This is a game from Rare. Rare made a ton of really classic games back on the Nintendo 64, the original Xbox, the Xbox 360 they made some content for as well. They were purchased by Microsoft back then on 360 days, I believe. Most recently, they made Sea of Thieves. Everwild appears to be their follow-up to that game, but like looking at the trailer, I literally couldn't tell you what that game's about. It seems to be about wizards of some sort, but I don't know if it's like a single-player first-person game, a third-person game, a co-op game, a battle royale. I honestly have no idea what that game's about. They have no clarity on it, no time frame for release date, so we just don't know anything about this game. And by this point, I was starting to get a bit frustrated because I felt like they're just not giving us detail. Like they're not telling us when or like how far along these games are or what platform they're coming out on. And there was just very little clarity, but it seemed to be kind of what they did the whole conference. After that, they showed Tell Me Why, which was the game developed by... They are the developers from Life is Strange. Looks like they're developing a narrative-driven episodic story game for Microsoft, which Microsoft, I believe, is publishing, called Tell Me Why. This game looked really cool. I think it looked great. It didn't look like a next-gen experience. It didn't look like I need a new console to play this experience. So kind of disappointed there. However, if you take it from face value and say, hey, does it look interesting? Yeah, it does. I think it looks great. Comes out on the 27th of August. So I guess this is like a cross-generational type thing where it comes out on the current console plus the new console. I don't know. They didn't give any clarity on that either, but it seems imminent. In fact, I don't even know if it's coming out on other platforms. Depending on whether or not Microsoft publish this, we might see it on PlayStation, but we don't know yet. So no clarity there. The developers behind Ori and the Will-O-Wisps came out. They said they're making a remake game of Ori, an upgrade for the game of Ori to come out on next gen, which is cool, I guess. Nothing really much there. The game's old at this point, so... Obsidian came out. They showed off 3 things. They showed the Outer Worlds DLC. That's coming out on all platforms, but I guess it kind of makes sense. Obsidian is a Microsoft-owned studio now, so it makes sense for them to be showing off their content under Microsoft's banner. They showed a game called Grounded, which is coming to Xbox Game Preview next week. This looks like a survival game, kind of like The Forest, 7 Days to Die, something like that, but you're playing as these kids with giant bugs, and I thought it looked really cool as a little survival game. Nothing groundbreaking, but it looked pretty neat, so that was kind of cool. And then they showed off their new game, their Obsidian RPG game called Aurora, which to me felt a little bit like Elder Scrolls type game. So this is about the halfway mark of the conference, and they really hadn't showed a heck of a lot. Ninja Theory came out. They talked about Hellblade, Sinuous Sacrifice, which was their previous game. They're obviously talking about working on Hellblade 2. Didn't show any gameplay for it. Didn't show a trailer for it. Just said they're working on it. So that game is probably a ways off. Dusk Falls, which is some sort of interactive drama graphic novel type game. Yeah, not too much to say. It's kind of an indie title, similar to how PlayStation had a lot of indie titles in their next gen conference. So, I mean, it looked fine. It's not gonna make me like rave about it though. And I know it sounds critical, right? And I'm being critical of these things because I feel like this is Microsoft's platform and Xbox's platform to get me hyped about next gen. This is their chance for them to say, hey, we're releasing a new box this year and you should buy it, and these are the reasons you should buy it, because you can play A, B, C, and D on it when it comes out. And I don't think they did any of that. I think they showed like 1 or 2 games that are going to be available on holiday, and then just a whole bunch of stuff coming, which is cool, but I don't think this is the right time to be showing all that stuff. I think now we need to be focusing on this, the stuff I can play on my console when it comes out, versus all this other stuff. And filling it with like these smaller indie titles, it cheapens it a little bit, because as good as Dusk Falls looks, and I'm not having to go at the game, I mean, I'm sure I could play that on my PS4 or my Xbox One. If, I don't think I need a next-gen console to play that game. And it honestly just doesn't appear that way. We'll keep going though. This is going to be a long video otherwise. Psychonauts 2 was shown. Well, a trailer for that was shown with Jack Black and Tim Schafer. That game was supposed to be coming out this year. It got delayed further out. So, who knows what's going on with that. I'm assuming that game's going to come out on all platforms, but I don't know, unless they've said otherwise. Then we saw a trailer for Destiny running on Xbox One X. So that's kind of cool. You can play Destiny 2 on it, but I guess we already kind of knew you could. So there's that. They showed a trailer for Stalker 2. Yeah, I didn't really have too much of an opinion on that. They sort of become a bit generic between these couples. So Stalker 2, Warhammer 40k, Dark Tide. They also showed another one called Crossfire, and they're all sort of shooter type games, so they kind of all blended a little bit together. They showed off Tetris Effect Connect. And I saw a lot of people online were pumped about this, and they're really excited about it. And I guess they're Xbox players who didn't play it on PlayStation, because we have this game. It came out on PS4 2 years ago now, I think. And I guess this is like an enhanced version of it, but it's still the same game. It had the same theme song in the trailer that the PlayStation version had. So, I mean, yeah, Tetris Effect was an awesome game, but not a next-gen experience per se. Then a couple of indie games. We saw The Gunk, which was a game from the creators of SteamWorld, if you guys remember that one. SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Punk or something. That came out a couple of years ago. We saw The Medium, where you're playing in these like two different realities. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Silent Hill, Alan Wake, where like you've got like one world where it's normal and one world where it's kind of weird. I guess it's like a ghosty world, and you're playing both of them. It had a weird thing in the trailer where it came up and said like both worlds rendered seamlessly or something like that. So I guess you can alternate between them. Yeah, I don't know. Felt kind of like they were using that tech language to promote it, but there's that. Sega had a trailer for... Actually, to be fair, that game looks interesting. I'm kind of excited for The Medium. I would be shocked if that was an exclusive, though. That feels to me like something that's going to be released on all platforms. So hopefully I'll be able to play that on PS5. Next, Sega showed off Phantasy Star Online 2, New Genesis, which I'm assuming is also a cross-generational game coming out next year, not just an exclusive. So there was that. Then we got to Crossfire, which was the other first-person shooter I mentioned before. This is being developed by Remedy. They're making it as a free-to-play online game, but then pay-to-play single-player game. Crossfire is like an old PC shooting game that's really popular in the Asian market. And they're bringing it across to current gen. I was disappointed when I saw Remedy's logo pop up, because it means they're not working on better stuff than this. And I didn't really want Remedy to be working on a first-person shooter, if I'm being honest. I would have much preferred that they would have worked on a third-person action game, kind of like what they're really good at with Alan Wake and Control, which are both very good games. So I was a bit shocked to see this, but yeah, that's something else happening. And then we got a one more thing moment, and we got a trailer for Fable after that. Yeah, that was, I don't know. People seem to be going nuts over this trailer for Fable. It didn't show anything. Like, it was a CG trailer. I guess it proves the game exists, maybe? But it doesn't show you gameplay or anything like that. It just showed us that the game exists. So, well, I'm sure Fable is going to be great, and I'll probably play it on Xbox in a couple of years' time. You know, this game is potentially like 2 years away, 3 years away, who knows? And they really didn't show anything or say anything. It just showed the game. Yeah, and that's it. That was the end of the conference. I know this sounds overly negative, and I really don't mean for it to be overly negative. I'm really disappointed more than anything. I was hoping for more than this. And I don't want this to come across like, oh, you're a PlayStation fanboy, so, you know, you're just dunking on these guys. Honestly, if any of the publishers did this and they just did an hour of CG trailers with no gameplay, I would be criticizing them just as much. Honestly, I think Sony did the same thing to a degree, and you can watch my video about the Sony reveal, and I was critical about that too. I think whenever they don't show gameplay, that concerns me, because that's the game. That's what you're actually playing. Watching a trailer for a concept of the game that could be 3 years away or 4 years away, that's nothing. That's not going to get me excited for it. That's not going to get me pumped. It might show me it exists, and maybe that's a good way of like revealing the game. But in terms of like getting you actually excited for the game and giving you a tangible time frame on when you're going to get access to it, or what it looks like, or how it plays, that's what really like gets the gears turning for me in my head and gets me excited for it. But that's just me. So that's generally the whole thing. I hate making videos where I'm being negative or critical like this. But I think honesty is what's most important in these circumstances. And honestly, I was gutted by this. I really hoped for more, and I didn't get what I was expecting. Yeah, it's a shame. So yeah, I don't know what the story is now with Microsoft. I think there's been mixed reception. Some people I've seen online have been very critical of them as well, like I am. Other people are really excited about it. Other people are just kind of blurred by Halo, I think, and the excitement for Halo has like overwhelmed them. And I do get that to a degree. I think if I was a massive Halo fan, I would have been pumped for that announcement today. And I think they did a good showing of Halo. I think they did a really, really good job of showing off the new Halo game, showing off the gameplay, showing off some new features, and giving a date for it. And like they ticked all the boxes there in terms of that. I was quite surprised not to get a date and price reveal at the end of this. I thought that that would be a good way for Microsoft to jump out ahead of Sony and do that before Sony does, but they obviously chose not to, which means that we're still waiting for that price and date reveal from both publishers. We're now in July, like this is the last week of July now, so we've got August, September, October, November, so we've really only got 3 months left before these things are out, which means that August is going to be when they reveal the dates and prices for these two consoles. It's just not possible for them to stretch it out any longer. With a 2-month pre-order window, it's just cutting it so fine for people. So I guess we'll see what happens in the coming weeks from both Sony and Microsoft in regards to that. But that's the conference. Let me know what you guys thought. I've seen a few of your comments already in the blog post that I put up last night around this, but I'm curious to see what you think now off the back of my reactions to it, off the back of you guys watching it. Was there anything exciting there for you? Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed by it, to be fair. Who knows? Hopefully Microsoft pulls something out of the bag. Maybe they have more to show. But yeah, that's all from me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.